New Year's Day is a festival observed in most of the world on January 1st, the first day of the year in the modern Gregorian calendar. January 1st is also New Year's Day on the Julian calendar, but this is not the same day as the Gregorian one. Whilst most solar calendars begin the year regularly at or near the northern winter solstice, cultures that observe a lunisolar or lunar calendar celebrate their new year at less fixed points relative to the solar year. In pre-Christian Rome under the Julian calendar, the day was dedicated to Janus, god of gateways and beginnings, for whom January is also named. From Roman times until the middle of the 18th century, the New Year was celebrated at various stages and in various parts of Christian Europe on December 25th, on March 1st, on March 25th and on the movable feast of Easter. In the present day, with most countries now using the Gregorian calendar as their civil calendar, January 1st according to that calendar is among the most celebrated public holidays in the world, often observed with fireworks at the stroke of midnight following New Year's Eve as the new year starts in each time zone. Other global New Year's Day traditions include making New Year's resolutions and calling one's friends and family. History. The ancient Babylonian calendar was lunisolar, and around the year 2000 BC began observing a spring festival and the new year during the month of Nisan, around the time of the March equinox. The early Roman calendar designated March 1st as the first day of the year. The calendar had just 10 months, beginning with March. That the new year once began with the month of March is still reflected in some of the names of the months. September through to December, the 9th through to the 12th months of the Gregorian calendar, were originally positioned as the 7th through to the 10th months. Roman mythology usually credits their second king Numa with the establishment of the two new months of Januarius and Februarius. These were first placed at the end of the year, but at some point came to be considered the first 2 months instead. The January calend, the start of the month of January, came to be celebrated as the new year at some point after it became the day for the inaugurating new consuls in 153 BC. Romans had long dated their years by these consulships, rather than sequentially, and making the calends of January start the new year aligned this dating. Still, private and religious celebrations around the March New Year continued for some time and there is no consensus on the question of the timing for 1 January's new status. Once it became the new year, however, it became a time for family gatherings and celebrations. A series of disasters, notably including the failed rebellion of Aemilius Lepidus in 78 BC, established a superstition against allowing Rome's market days to fall on the calends of January and the pontiffs employed intercalation to avoid its occurrence. New Year's Day in the older Julian calendar. The Julian calendar, proposed by Julius Caesar in AUC 708, was a reform of the Roman calendar. It took effect on January 1 AUC 709, by edict. The calendar became the predominant calendar in the Roman Empire and subsequently, most of the Western world for more than 1,600 years. The Roman calendar began the year on January 1, and this remained the start of the year after the Julian reform. However, even after local calendars were aligned to the Julian calendar, they started the new year on different dates. The Alexandrian calendar in Egypt started on August 29. Several local provincial calendars were aligned to start on the birthday of the Emperor Augustus, September 23. The indiction caused the Byzantine year, which used the Julian calendar, to begin on September 1. This date is still used in the Eastern Orthodox Church for the beginning of the liturgical year. At various times and in various places throughout medieval Christian Europe, the New Year was celebrated on December 25 in honor of the birth of Jesus, March 1 in the Old Roman style, March 25 in honor of Lady Day, and on the movable feast of Easter. Christian observance. Gift-giving. Acceptance of January 1 as New Year's Day. Most nations of Europe and their colonies officially adopted January 1st as New Year's Day somewhat before they adopted the Gregorian calendar. France changed to January 1st from 1564, most of Germany did so from 1544, the Netherlands from 1556 or 1573 according to sect. Italy did so on a variety of dates, Spain and Portugal from 1556, Sweden, Norway and Denmark from 1599, Scotland from 1600, and Russia from 1725. England, Wales, Ireland, and Britain's American colonies did so from 1752. Great Britain and the British Empire. Eastern Orthodoxy. At various stages during the first half of the 20th century, all countries in Eastern Christendom adopted the Gregorian calendar as their civil calendar but continued, and have continued into modern times, to use the Julian calendar for ecclesiastical purposes. As January 1st equates to January 14th, a religious celebration of the New Year on this date may seem strange to Western eyes. New Year's days in other calendars. In cultures that traditionally or currently use calendars other than the Gregorian, New Year's Day is often also an important celebration. Some countries can currently use Gregorian and another calendar. New Year's Day in the alternative calendar attracts alternative celebrations of that new year. African Nowruz and Enkutatash are the New Year's days of the Coptic Egyptians and the Ethiopians, respectively. Between 1900 and 2100, both occur on September 11th in most years and on September 12th in the years before Gregorian leap years. They preserve the legacy of the ancient Egyptian New Year Wept Renpet, which originally marked the onset of the Nile flood but which wandered through the seasons until the introduction of leap years to the traditional calendar by Augustus in 30 to 20 BC. In Ethiopia, the New Year is held to mark the end of the summer rainy season. The Odunda festival is also called the African New Year is celebrated in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States on the second Sunday of June. While the name was based on the Yoruba African culture, its celebration marks the largest African celebration in the world, which more or less was started by a local tradition. The Sotho people of Lesotho and South Africa celebrate Salemo Sa Basotho on August 1st during the end of the Southern Hemisphere's winter. This is based on the Sotho calendar, and includes observances such as Mokit Wa Lewa, a celebration that follows the harvest. East Asian Chinese New Year is celebrated in some countries around East Asia, including China, and Southeast Asia, including Singapore. It is the first day of the traditional Chinese calendar, a lunar calendar that is corrected for the solar changes every 3 years. The holiday normally falls between January 20th and February 20th. The holiday is celebrated with food, families, lucky money, and many other red things for good luck. Lion and dragon dances, drums, fireworks, firecrackers, and other types of entertainment fill the streets on this day. January 1st is also a legal holiday in China, and people also celebrate the Gregorian New Year in this day, but it is not as grand as the traditional Chinese New Year. Japanese New Year is celebrated on January 1st because the Gregorian calendar is now used instead of the Chinese calendar in use until 1873. Korean New Year is celebrated on the first day of the traditional Korean calendar in South Korea. The first day of this lunisolar calendar, called Seolal, is an important national holiday, with a minimum of 3 days off of work and school. Koreans celebrate New Year's Day by preparing food for their ancestors' spirits, visiting ancestors' graves, and playing Korean games such as yunori with families. Young children show respect to their parents, grandparents, relatives, and other elders by bowing down in a traditional way and are given good wishes and some money by the elders. In addition, South Koreans celebrate the January 1st New Year's Day of the Gregorian calendar, and as a national holiday, people have the day off. The Gregorian calendar is now the official civil calendar in South Korea, so the populace now considers the January 1st New Year's Day the first day of the year. South Koreans calculate their age using the East Asian age reckoning method, with all South Koreans adding a year to their age at midnight of the new year. Families enjoy the new year by counting down to midnight on New Year's Eve on 31 December. North Koreans celebrate the New Year's Day holiday on the first day of the Gregorian calendar, January 1st. This New Year's Day, confusingly also called Seolal, is a big holiday in North Korea, while they take a day off on the first day of the Korean calendar. The first day of the Korean calendar is regarded as a day for relaxation, but North Koreans consider the first day of the Gregorian calendar to be even more important. Southeast Asian Cambodian New Year is celebrated on April 13th or April 14th. There are 3 days for the Khmer New Year. The first day is called Moha Songkran, the second is called Virak Wanabat, and the final day is called Virak Loeung Sak. During these periods, Cambodians often go to the pagoda or play traditional games. Phnom Penh is usually quiet during Khmer New Year as most Cambodians prefer spending it at their respective hometowns. Thai New Year is celebrated on April 13th or April 14th and is called Songkran in the local language. People usually come out to splash water on one another. The throwing of water originated as a blessing. By capturing the water after it had been poured over the Buddhas for cleansing, this blessed water is gently poured on the shoulder of elders and family for good fortune. Thin Jun, Burmese New Year's celebrations, typically begin on April 13th, but the actual New Year's Day falls on April 17th in the 21st century. The day has slowly drifted over the centuries. In the 20th century, the day fell on 15 or April 16th, while in the 17th century, it fell on 9 or April 10th. Vietnamese New Year, more commonly known by its shortened name TT or Vietnamese Lunar New Year, is the most important and popular holiday and festival in Vietnam. The holiday normally falls between January 20th and February 20th. It is the Vietnamese New Year, marking the arrival of spring based on the Chinese calendar, a lunisolar calendar. The name Tet Nguyen with acute N is Sino-Vietnamese for feast of the first morning, derived from the Han Nam characters. South Asian Diwali-related New Year's celebrations include Marwari New Year and Gujarati New Year. Indian New Year's Days has several variations depending on the region and is based on the Hindu calendar. In Hinduism, different regional cultures celebrate the New Year at different times of the year. In Assam, Bengal, Kerala, Nepal, Odisha, Punjab, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu, households celebrate the New Year when the sun enters Aries on the Hindu calendar. This is normally on April 14th or April 15th, depending on the leap year. Elsewhere in northern/central India, the Vikram Samvat calendar is followed. According to that, the New Year Day is the first day of the Chaitra month, also known as Chaitra Shukla Pratipada or Gudi Padway. This is basically the first month of the Hindu calendar, the first Shukla Paksha and the first day. This normally comes around 23-24 March, mostly around the spring equinox in Gregorian calendar. The New Year is celebrated by paying respect to elders in the family and by seeking their blessings. They also exchange tokens of good wishes for a healthy and prosperous year ahead. Malayalam New Year is celebrated either on the first day of the month of Medam in mid-April, which is known as Vishu, or the first day of the month of Chingam, in the Malayalam calendar in mid-August according to another reckoning. Unlike most other calendar systems in India, the New Year's Day on the Malayalam calendar is not based on any astronomical event. It is just the first day of the first of the 12 months on the Malayalam calendar. The Malayalam calendar originated in 825 AD, based on general agreement among scholars, with the reopening of the city of Kollam, which had been destroyed by a natural disaster. Nepal Sambat is the Nepalese New Year celebration. Pahila Baishak or Bangla Nababarsho is the first day of the Bengali calendar. It is celebrated on April 14 as a national holiday in Bangladesh, and on 14 or April 15 in the Indian states of West Bengal, Tripura, and part of Assam by people of Bengali heritage, irrespective of their religious faith. The Sikh New Year is celebrated as per the Nanak Shahi calendar. The epoch of this calendar is the birth of the first Sikh Guru, Guru Nanak in 1469. New Year's Day falls annually on what is March 14 in the Gregorian Western calendar. Sinhalese New Year is celebrated in Sri Lankan culture predominantly by the Sri Lankan Sinhalese, while the Tamil New Year on the same day is celebrated by Sri Lankan Tamils. The Sinhalese New Year marks the end of the harvest season, by the month of Bak between 13 and April 14. There is an astrologically generated time gap between the passing year and the new year, which is based on the passing of the Sun from the Meena Rashiya to the Mesha Rashiya in the celestial sphere. The astrological time difference between the new year and the passing year is celebrated with several Buddhist rituals and customs that are to be concentrated on, which are exclusive of all types of work. After Buddhist rituals and traditions are attended to, Sinhala and Tamil New Year-based social gatherings and festive parties with the aid of firecrackers and fireworks would be organized. The exchange of gifts, cleanliness, the lighting of the oil lamp, making kiri bath, and even the Asian koil are significant aspects of the Sinhalese New Year. Tamil New Year is celebrated on April 13 or April 14. Traditionally, it is celebrated as Chithirai Thirunal in parts of Tamil Nadu to mark the event of the sun entering Aries. Punchanjam is read in temples to mark the start of the year. Telugu New Year, Kannada New Year is celebrated in March, April. Traditionally, it is celebrated as Chaitram Kshetra Shadapatiyami in parts of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Karnataka to mark the event of New Year's Day for the people of the Deccan region of India. It falls on a different day every year because the Hindu calendar is a lunisolar calendar. The Saka calendar begins with the month of Kshetra and Ugadi/Ugadi marks the first day of the new year. Kshetra is the first month in Panchanga, which is the Indian calendar. Punchanjam is read in temples to mark the start of the year. Middle Eastern Hijri New Year in Sunni Islamic culture is the day that marks the beginning of a new year in the lunar Hijri calendar. It moves with respect to the solar year because it is a lunar calendar, making it on average 11 to 12 days shorter than a solar year. The first day of the year is observed on the first day of Muharram, the first month in this calendar. Nowruz marks the first day of spring and the beginning of the year in the solar Hijri calendar. It is celebrated on the day of the astronomical northern spring equinox, which usually occurs on or about March 21. Nowruz has been celebrated for over 3,000 years by the cultural continent of Iran, including Kurdistan and Afghanistan. The holiday is also celebrated and observed by many parts of Central Asia, South Asia, northwestern China, Crimea, and some groups in the Balkans. As well as being a Zoroastrian holiday and having significance amongst the Zoroastrian ancestors of modern Iranians, the same time is celebrated in the Indian subcontinent as the New Year. The moment the sun crosses the celestial equator and equalizes night and day is calculated exactly every year, and Iranian families gather together to observe the rituals. Rosh Hashanah is celebrated by Jews in Israel and throughout the world. The date is the new moon of Tishrei, which is the seventh month counting from Nisan, the first month of spring. It always falls during September or October. The holiday is celebrated by blasting of shofar trumpets, to signify it as a day of judgment, by prayers of penitence, by readings from the law and prophets, and by special meals. The night of 31 December/1 January, the New Year according to the Gregorian calendar, is also celebrated widely in Israel and is referred to as Sylvester or the Civil New Year. Traditional and modern celebrations and customs. New Year's Eve. The 1st of January represents the fresh start of a new year after a period of remembrance of the passing year, including on radio, television, and in newspapers, which starts in early December in countries around the world. Publications have year-end articles that review the changes during the previous year. In some cases, publications may set their entire year's work alight in the hope that the smoke emitted from the flame brings new life to the company. There are also articles on planned or expected changes in the coming year. This day is traditionally a religious feast, but since the 1900s has also become an occasion to celebrate the night of 31 December New Year's Eve with parties, public celebrations, and other traditions focused on the impending arrival of midnight and the new year. Watch night services are also still observed by many. New Year's Day. The celebrations and activities held worldwide on January 1st as part of New Year's Day commonly include the following. Several major parades are held on New Year's Day, including the London's New Year's Day Parade, Pasadena's Tournament of Roses Parade, and Philadelphia's Mummers Parade. In the Bahamas, it is also associated with Junkanoo. Beginning in the 2010s, it is also the day that First Day Hikes takes place in the 50 state park systems of the United States. The Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra traditionally performs a New Year's concert on the morning of New Year's Day. A polar bear plunge is a common tradition in some countries, where participants gather on beaches and run into the cold water. Polar bear clubs in many Northern Hemisphere cities have a tradition of holding organized plunges on New Year's Day, and they are often held to raise money for charity. In Ireland, New Year's Day was called La Naig Seaperi, or the Day of the Buttered Bread. A possible meaning to the consumption of buttered bread was to ward off hunger and famine in the coming year, by placing the buttered bread on the doorstep in the morning. Some traditions saw parties of young people calling from house to house to receive buttered bread and occasionally poitin, or to give out buttered bread in exchange for pennies. This tradition has since died out, having been popular in the 19th century, and waning in the 1930s and 1940s. In Japan, Korea, and areas inhabited by the Inuit, Yupik, Aleut, Chukchi and the Inupiat, watching the first sunrise is a tradition. In the United Kingdom and United States, New Year's Day is associated with several prominent sporting events. In the United States, January 1st is the traditional date for several major postseason college football bowl games, including the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, the Outback Bowl in Tampa, the Rose Bowl game in Pasadena, and the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. Since 2015, the Rose and Sugar Bowl games host the semifinals of the college football playoff every 3 seasons. Since 2008, the National Hockey League has hosted an annual outdoor game, the Winter Classic, which rotates between different host teams annually, and usually showcases a major regional rivalry. If New Year's Day falls on a Sunday, sporting events and associated festivities traditionally held on New Year's Day are typically deferred to the following Monday in defense of the National Football League, which plays a Sunday game day as normal. The Premier League in English football traditionally holds a fixture of matches on New Year's Day, stemming from the historic tradition of games being played over the Christmas holiday period. The final of the PDC World Darts Championship typically falls on New Year's Day. The Cheltenham Racecourse holds a New Year's Day fixture, which includes the Fairlawn Handicap Chase, Dipper Novices Chase, and Wreckhill Hurdle. New Year's Day is a government and bank holiday in many countries. Music. Music associated with New Year's Day comes in both classical and popular genres, and there is also Christmas song focus on the arrival of a new year during the Christmas and holiday season. Paul Gerhardt wrote the text for a hymn for the turn of the year, Nun last uns genuendi Triton, first published in 1653. Johann Sebastian Bach, in the Orgelbucklen, composed 3 chorale preludes for the new year, Helft mir Gott's gut Priesen, das alte Jahr vergangen ist, and in dir ist Freude. The year is gone, beyond recall is a traditional Christian hymn to give thanks for the new year, dating back to 1713. In English-speaking countries, it is traditional to sing Auld Lang Syne at midnight on New Year's. New Year's Day babies. A common image used, often as an editorial cartoon, is that of an incarnation of Father Time wearing a sash across his chest with the previous year printed on it, passing on his duties to the baby New Year, an infant wearing a sash with the New Year printed on it. Babies born on New Year's Day are commonly called New Year babies. Hospitals, such as the Dyersburg Regional Medical Center in the U.S., give out prizes to the first baby born in that hospital in the new year. These prizes are often donated by local businesses. Prizes may include various baby-related items such as baby formula, baby blankets, diapers, and gift certificates to stores which specialize in baby-related merchandise. Antarctica. On New Year's Day in Antarctica, the stake marking the geographic South Pole is moved approximately 10 meters to compensate for the movement of the ice. A new marker stake is designed and made each year by staff at the site nearby. Other celebrations on January 1st. The Eastern Orthodox Church, the Anglican Church and the Lutheran Church celebrate the feast of the circumcision of Christ on January 1st, based on the belief that if Jesus was born on December 25, then according to Hebrew tradition, his circumcision would have taken place on the 8th day of his life. The Roman Catholic Church celebrates on this day the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God, which is also a holy day of obligation. Johann Sebastian Bach composed several church cantatas for the double occasion. Singet dem Herrn ein neues Lied, BWV 190, January 1, 1724. Jesu, nun sei gepriset, BWV 41, January 1, 1725. Herr Gott, dich loben wir, BWV 16, January 1, 1726. Gott, wie dein Name, so ist auch dein Ruhm, BWV 171, January 1, 1729. Falt mit danken, Falt mit loben, January 1, 1735. See also. First Night. List of films set around New Year. List of winter festivals. Rosh Hashanah. Saint Sylvester's Day. New Year's 6.